Simon & Schuster Audio presents Just Friends, a novel by Haley Pham. Read by Sarah Sue. For Ryan, who made my life a romance book before I discovered them. Chapter 1. The fear pot only come when it's love, Aunt Lottie would always say, in the kind of broken English others noticed, but I never did. The kind of love that burrows so deep, it transform you. If you lose it, it feel like losing a part of yourself, too. That feeling is personified in my stomach right now, and not in the way I expected her advice to come true. About some boy. About Declan. Instead, that full-bodied, love-fueled fear was stirring awake because of her. I just want to warn you, things will look a little different when you get here. My mom's voice fills the car speaker. I know, that's fine. I'll be there in 20. Love you, Mom, I say in a rush, finger hovering over the red button. She sighs like mothers sigh when they know they can't protect their daughters from inevitable pain. Okay, then. I love you more, sweetie. See you soon. The call ends, and I swallow hard, readjusting my grip on the steering wheel. A 2-lane highway stretches before me, kissing a steep cliff that slopes toward waves that crash against the shore. As I drive through the tunnel that transports you from vast, open skies to a town that feels too cozy not to be fiction, I force myself to perceive its beauty, like the travelers who flock here every summer might. An overhang of trees makes it seem like the town is wearing a beret, and flowers in bloom seemingly all year dot the quaint cottages that look like they're built by fairies. A few turns later, I'm nearing my childhood home, or more specifically, the great-aunt Lottie's house. But I want to make a stop first. Perhaps it's further avoidance of what I'm scared to find when I arrive, but I veer left toward the picturesque downtown square regardless. There's one local bookstore in Seabrook, California, and it's only open during the busy tourist season, which seems to be now, judging by the crowds. I have to yield to a conglomerate of pedestrians almost every 10 feet. Dads wearing fanny packs are followed closely behind by kids wearing waffle crew necks, screen-printed with the name Seabrook, melting ice cream cones in hand. Scoring an unlikely parking spot in front of the bookstore, I brace myself before pushing open the heavy oak door to Seabrook's Books and Nooks, knowing the odds of running into someone I know from childhood are extremely high. The comforting aroma of vintage paper wafts toward me as I step in, and my shoulders drop. A bookstore is the first place my feet take me in every town, even the town I know every square inch of. Just as I predict, I'm only 3 strides into the romance section when my suspicions become a reality. Oh my gosh! A familiar voice starts. Blair? Slowly, I rotate on my heel to see a girl peering around the bookshelves. She wears oversized square glasses and a messy bun, and she's awaiting my response. It's a relief that I recognize her. Hey, Rosie, I say with a wan smile. We were never close in high school, but she was always sweet. Sat in the back of class, smiled at me in the hallways. What are you doing back? I thought you were moving to New York City or something. She waves non-specifically with her hand into the ether as she fully emerges from around the corner. At first, I'm astonished by her forwardness. Perhaps I've forgotten how much 4 years can change about a person. But Rosie was particularly known for her lack of speaking. Well, my hand scratches the back of my neck. My aunt is sick, actually. Came back to spend some time with her. I drop my hand and try a smile to show her she doesn't need to feel awkward for asking. Oh gosh, Blair, I'm so sorry, I didn't. Before she can continue stammering, I fill her in on the details she's probably wondering about. Or maybe I do it in an attempt for it to feel real. It's okay. Stage 4 lung cancer. Came out of nowhere and has progressed quickly. I say it like I'm describing the weather, trying to dismiss the rising emotion in my chest. But it will be fine, I tack on. That was good, I decide. Instead of trying to scurry around unnoticed, I actually let Rosie in on something in my life. I try to not regret it as I look at the pained expression on her face. Half sympathy and half panic, unsure of how to respond to something so grave. Rosie just nods with a grimace as she looks down at her twiddling fingers, which I take as permission to turn around and end this painfully unpleasant experience for both of us, finishing my journey toward the romance section. There's a book I just finished on my Kindle last night I want a physical copy of. Frivolous, I know, but I'm unwilling to restrain myself from any hit of dopamine right now. I'll take any ounce I can get to prepare me for what's to come. Usually, pulling into the smooth cobblestone driveway of Aunt Lottie's house feels like exhaling. Today it feels like forgetting how to breathe. There's a roundabout that loops in front of the sprawling mansion. Smooth brown-gray stucco sits under sloping wooden roofs, as if the house were built from the nature surrounding it. Contemporary glass windows adorn the sides, but the curtains are all drawn, making the pit in my stomach open wider. Childhood memories of Lottie chasing me through the garden flood my mind. I try not to choke on the thought of her weakened body laying inside. My great-aunt Lottie fled Saigon as it fell and was taken over by communists. She told me the story in detail of how she picked up and left everything she knew at age 20, boarding a boat that was meant to hold 200 people, but became 1,000. Desperate and grief-stricken, the people forced themselves onto the boat, trying to take hold of their last option out of the country as their homes vanished behind them. Food had to be rationed, and even so, there wasn't enough to go around. She described the bunk bed she lay atop of, hidden in a lower level of the boat, trying not to move, trying not to think, for the 7 days it took to arrive at a small neighboring country. From there, she waited months for a sponsor in America to host her arrival, and it came in the form of a generous family in Orange County. In her adult life, she stumbled upon the small town of Seabrook, California, and fell in love with the beaches lined with cypress trees and moss-covered thatched roofs. She settled down before tourists discovered it and opted to open a convenience store instead of finishing college in a language she barely knew. That convenience store expanded to 2 locations, which later became 7. Lottie understood what it was like to be ejected from the life you knew. So, when my mom and the 5-year-old me showed up on her doorstep, fleeing from an abusive husband, my father, she let us take refuge inside her home. And eventually, inside her heart. I take a deep breath and bolster myself to see the women who raised me waiting inside. As I enter, my body takes note of the eerie silence before I can register why it feels so blue. Lottie is missing from her spot by the window, where she's usually whistling a tune or reading her newspaper. I call out, "Mom? Lottie? Up here!" My mom yells from above. I sprint up the winding staircase to Lottie's bedroom. When I walk in, I try to hide my shock at seeing Lottie propped up in a mechanical hospital bed, wearing one of her beautiful floral dresses. My eyes dart to my mother's. She smiles at me encouragingly, opening her arms as I run toward them, Her comforting scent wraps itself around my heart and squeezes as I squeeze her. "Hi, Mom." I breathe into her neck. "I missed you." "Missed you too, sweet pea." Turning to the mechanical bed, I bend down. "And Lottie!" My voice pitches upward, hoping to raise the obviously somber mood. "How are you managing to look so gorgeous in this dinky bed?" I kick it playfully, trying to disguise my unease as I take in how wrong she looks in a hospital bed. A mild laugh bubbles out of her, eyes twinkling as her shoulders shake up and down gently. "Come here, my sweet girl." She reaches out to my head to bring me down, giving me her famous sniff kiss, a kiss on the cheek that starts with a deep inhale and ends with a smooch. The ridiculous sound of her aggressive inhale on my cheek always makes me laugh. "Congratulations on graduating, Gong." She uses the Vietnamese word for child lovingly. "I am so proud of you." Her voice sounds weaker, bringing tears to my eyes before I can stop them. "Now." She waves her hand in my face. "No crying for me, Gong. I've had a happy life. Everything I could ever want is right here in this room." I look behind me at my mom standing in the corner with a pained expression on her face, trying so hard to be stoic for my sake. "You don't let this drag you down, okay? I'm comfortable here. I want you to go enjoy. Enjoy life." Even after living here for 50 years, she has an accent that perseveres. I will never stop loving the sound of it, speaking her life truths to me in fragments or dropping the S on plural words. No matter how much pain she is experiencing, I know she will go to lengths unknown to keep it hidden from me. She and my mom have always been this way, encouraging me to be strong, forge on, despite the circumstances. I give her another hug, aware that this frail body beneath me contains all the love I felt in my childhood and is now being ravaged by cancer. "I love you," I whisper brokenly into her ear. I wipe my tears with my hands before taking a seat in a chair set up beside her. But the second I do, Lottie chastises me. No, Gong, don't sit here with me. You finally back home. Go explore." I squint as I try to catch her darting eyes. "Lottie, don't be silly." "Baby," she croaks. "I'm not joking. Please, go enjoy this beautiful day. I'm not going anywhere." I still at her words, unsure how to respond. "Shoo! Out you go." She waves her hands theatrically until I stand. "Keep going." She doesn't relax until I'm halfway out the door. Okay, I concede in a weak voice, peeking my head through the door one more time. "I love you." "I love you too, Gong. Now, go have some fun." Chapter 2. 2 weeks ago, I got the call. If you've ever gotten the call in your life, you'll unfortunately know what I mean. The one that creates a before and after in your story, bookending each side. Whatever you had been doing prior to it becomes so hilariously insignificant in comparison to the words coming through the phone speaker. I was sitting on an ocean-aged bench overlooking Malibu's choppy waves when the podcast I was listening to was interrupted by "Hopelessly Devoted to You" wailing in my headphones. My phone was ringing, a photo of my mother's effervescent smile and dark hair filling the screen. "Hi, Mom," I drawled with faux lethargy. "Hi, baby. Is now a good time?" My mom's usually light, sugary tone was pulled taut. The tension in her voice stiffened every muscle in my body, causing me to shift to a straighter position on the bench. Yeah, what's going on? It's Aunt Lottie. I just wanted to let you know we decided to put her on at-home hospice care. The cancer progressed way faster than any of the doctors saw coming, so we've made the difficult decision to quit treatment and... Her voice trailed off as my ears began to ring. My body felt like it was tilting internally, an air of unreality coating me. My fingers tingled, and my vision darkened at the periphery. A memory of Lottie dancing around the kitchen in one of her floral-printed maxi dresses, singing the butterfly song in Vietnamese, waltzed across my mind. Kia gong boom bang, kia gong boom bang, she would sing to me with her eyebrows raised and skirt fluttering around her as she seemingly floated over the wooden floor. I would sit there in a fit of giggles, completely enraptured by her beauty. Her voice felt like a safe cocoon. She was a second mother, a grandmother, and a best friend, all in one beautiful, tiny body. I'll come home as soon as possible, Mom. This is top priority to me. I'll get someone to... My mind sputtered as I tried to work out the logistics of leaving college when there were only 2 weeks left until graduation, of abandoning the consulting job I had lined up in New York. No, baby. I want you to graduate first. Don't worry about us just yet. She's comfortable here. The nurses come twice a week. Just work out how to come here for the summer if you want to, okay? My mom said, tone placating my panic. I will be there for sure. There's nowhere else I'd rather be, I emphasized, promising with no concrete plan of how. But didn't at-home hospice care mean death was approaching? My mom has always been worried about overstepping, the complete opposite of a stereotypically overbearing mother. At times, she's too polite in her attempt not to overstep, and it feels like I could drift away from her and Lottie and never hear from them again if I wasn't the one to tug on the rope, pulling them closer to me. I couldn't rely on my mom to emphasize how dire the situation was. Lottie could be at risk of dying tomorrow, and Mom would still encourage me to go to New York City and not worry about it. Now, 2 weeks after the call that derailed my life, my massive luggage bobbles violently up the cobblestone walkway that leads to the guest house. I could have spent my visit home in my untouched bedroom, but the thought made my skin crawl. There was nothing like a childhood bedroom to make you feel like the years you've spent trying to progress have been erased. If Lottie's compound was an island, the guest house would be like a lighthouse perched on a rocky cliff. As a kid, the short walk made me feel like a character from The Hobbit, trekking up the cozy pathway that led to the smaller structure with its curved wooden door. But I don't see any of it as I pull my belongings behind me. My body feels numb from shock. Seeing Lottie for the first time after the call was even worse than I conjured in my imagination. The last time I saw her, she had been sick, yes, but she was still moving about the kitchen like she was floating beneath her floral dress. Pushing open the wooden door of the guest house, the comforting musk of old clothes and fresh sheets greets me. My gaze snags on the wooden coat stand in the corner. An aged yellow bucket hat hangs from the top rung. Memories flash through my mind of the beach trips Lottie took me on when she had a day off managing her convenience stores. She'd help me build hot tubs in the sand, transporting water from our man-made hole and sitting in it like lobsters in a pot. The memory feels like a hand reaching through my chest, squeezing my heart uncomfortably. I fight to take a deep breath and drag my bags all the way inside. I have a sinking feeling the sensation will only become more prevalent in the future. I cross the small bedroom to the bathroom, lined with jade green tile, turning the shower handle to its hottest setting. As I wait for the water to heat up, I scan the layout of the bedroom, trying to appreciate the coziness of the beautiful room. rather than feel the pit of dread rising in my stomach. A glimpse of my reflection in the seashell-encrusted mirror causes me to do a double take. My body looks deflated, like it's had a head start processing the news before my mind got to the starting line. I tousle my curtain bangs and wipe the tears from beneath my tired eyes. My phone buzzes. I pick it up to find a Google Calendar reminder for 3 months from now. Ernst & Young start date. My shoulders tense. I delete the reminder and throw my phone on the bed, and then step into the shower's comforting heat. I was offered the consulting job I had been gunning for my entire time at Pepperdine. Up until the call about Lottie's health, I was prepared to move to New York City and buckled down for the next few years of 12 to 14-hour workdays, excited by the prospect of finally working toward my goal. Do you have, an NYC bucket list? Faye, my best friend from college, asked me one night. I blinked at her and said, "What do you mean by bucket list? Aren't you envisioning the cute outfits you'll wear to work every day and the sexy dive bar you'll get drinks at where you might spot a celebrity?" she said, eyebrows raised in anticipation. But the question stumped me. Landing this consulting gig wasn't about enjoying my work, having a vibrant social life, or living in a big city. Those all paled in comparison to the expression I imagined on my mother's relieved face as I delivered her the news. You can retire. Leaving Seabrook had always been about getting the best job possible so that I could relieve my mom from working behind the cash register at one of Lottie's convenience stores. But more than that, I wanted to buy her independence. Her life had been about supporting me for so long. I wanted to pay her back. I wanted to see her carefree enough to hang out with friends or consider dating someone again. To simply do something because she wanted to, not because she needed to for me. But here I was, job deferred. Which was fine, of course. There was nowhere I'd rather be than with Lottie. But simultaneously, it felt like I was abandoning my mom. She would never see it that way, because she'd never asked for my help in the first place. Her life was about making sure I could live mine. But I wanted to make mine about making sure she could live hers. I let my mind wander to my friend's more promising first days out of college. Faye moving her clothes into a walk-in closet, kissing her new husband on the cheek, before ushering him out the door to make enough money for both of them. And Roshi, receiving congratulations from relatives as she announced the prestigious law school she got accepted to. Their futures are unfurling, while mine feels like it's snapping backward. Freshly moved into a tiny house at the back of a mansion I had no merit in earning. Back to square one in my hometown. The irony is jarring. My friends are the mansion. I am the guest house. I shut the water off and yank a pink towel from the rack, hastily drying off and ready to exit the guest house not long after arriving. Sulking wouldn't get me closer to my dream of letting my mom finally retire, and Lottie wanted me to spend the day outside. So, if I couldn't pursue the job I wanted, it was time I found one here in Seabrook. Descending the cobblestone steps and brusquely turning onto a wide road, I stride toward downtown, where small businesses thrive during the tourist season. Somewhere, someone will surely hire me. One of the things I missed most about home was the ability to walk everywhere. Within seconds, I remember why Seabrook is called a storybook come to life. The way the trees, seemingly as old as time, hunker down into the earth with muscular roots and weave through roads. A choir of birds sings as squirrels dart from branch to branch. Houses and shops lack street numbers, So hand-painted wooden signs offer names to reference instead. Bristle and Brine reads a swinging sign to a boutique with robin's egg blue painted shutters. 3 blocks into the city, I lock eyes with my target, Seabrook Coffee House, a more recent addition to the city square. The name is a far cry from unique, but the shop itself makes up for it. The white cottage house is nestled in a courtyard, led to by a brick street. Lush greenery hugs the roof like a sweater. As a child, I would hide behind the abandoned house's bushes while playing tag with the local kids. Now, as a newly graduated adult, I swing the creaky red doors open to beg for a job. A short, blonde-haired girl peeks over the register at me and gives me an excited grin. She looks like she just celebrated the birthday that made her old enough to work here. "Good morning. What can I get ya?" she says with a sunny smile. An odd amount of shame creeps into my voice as I reply, "Morning. I was actually checking to see if you guys were hiring." Perhaps seeing that I'd be coworkers with a high schooler after completing my degree at a prestigious university is what triggers it. It's just for the summer, I tell myself, making sure to liven up my expression so this cheery-faced girl doesn't receive the brunt of my post-grad crisis. The girl's eyebrows crinkle, like she's trying to soak up the totality of my face, before snapping out of it and blurting, "Yes, let me just go ask the manager real quick." I furrow my brow as she scurries to the back like a small mouse. My ear unintentionally catches the sound of sunny teenager informing the manager that a girl is here looking for a job. There seems to be a tense exchange, whispered questions and responses, but I can't hear what they're saying. The manager is facing her, his broad shoulders blocking my view, but the sun beams through the window and highlights his jagged cheekbone. From the back, his hair looks messy, in a way that suggests he was too busy to put effort into styling it. The conversation between tense manager and sunny teenager ends, so I turn away sharply, hoping they don't catch me eavesdropping. I'm facing the window, pretending to look outside, when I hear his footsteps approaching. A calm, deep voice sounds off behind my left ear. "Excuse me, ma'am?" The sound makes me time travel while standing in place. I spin around, still suspended in the second of shock, where my brain screams improbability. My eyes finally land on him, and the floor of my stomach becomes a faulty elevator. The person who felt more like home than my house did. The one I spent 12 formative years with. The name that became too painful to think about after disappearing without saying the word goodbye, is standing in front of me. More to myself than him, a subconscious breath of a word rasps out of me. Declan. His pupils dilate in response, or am I imagining things? Apart from the tiniest twitch of his strong mouth, his jaw stays locked in cool concentration. He seems unmoored, maybe more resigned to see me than shocked by my presence. Why is he unfazed? Everything about him is familiar in an instant, and yet wholly different. Declan has the face of someone who only becomes more interesting the longer you look at him. I instantly get lost surveying his recent developments. In the 4 years since I've seen him, his face has stretched tight over the angular planes of his cheekbones. A speckling of stubble dots the slant of his jaw. New lines are etched into the grooves beside his eyes. But the dimples, the freckle on his bottom lip, just slightly to the right, and the freckle on his neck, slightly to the left, are still perfectly in place. "Blair," he responds in a clipped tone and a simple, albeit slightly awkward nod, before shoving the application into my hands and spinning around to walk away. As he does, I noticed something that wasn't there the last time I saw him. A subtle limp. Chapter 3. My fingers navigate to Roshi's number the second I step foot out of the coffee shop. Distant chatter fades as she answers the phone. "Hey, Blink, how's Seabrook life treating you?" Her voice is a slow, laid-back drawl. I'm out of breath as I answer. "Roshi." What? Don't use that voice, it scares me." She snaps out of her typically affable demeanor in an instant. "I just saw Declan." I grind out word by word. There's a moment of silence that stretches for so long, I remove the phone from my ear to check if she got disconnected. I'm grateful the speaker is away from my ear because she screams, "What? The Declan Renshaw?" "Yes!" I cry, relieved to finally have someone else say it back to me. My eyes on Declan Renshaw, 4 years after the accident. "Where did you see him?" she asks. "Just out on the street or something?" "No. He's the manager of some coffee place. I was applying for a job there before I knew he worked there, obviously." "What was his reaction?" she demands. "I don't even know. It was so weird. He didn't look shocked to see me at all. His face was like this black hole. Just completely devoid of emotion. And then he shoved the job application into my hands and stalked off to the back room like he had something else to deal with." "What?" Roshi squeals. "That's all? He didn't say anything about it being you?" "I mean, he said one word before disappearing, and it was my name. That's it. I guess I also only said one word too, but..." I trail off. She hums. "He's gotta be affected by seeing you for the first time after all these years, though, right?" I huff out a breath. The question is exactly the thought I've had looping through my mind since it happened. How could he ever move past everything we experienced together? There was the fight, but weren't we more than that? And how we ended, how was he so unbothered by it? "Wow, very strange indeed," she says quietly, seeming to ponder the strangeness of it alongside me. "Are you still gonna apply for the job?" "Yeah, I mean, I need a job with overtime hours, plus, is it bad that I kind of want to work there? To get some sort of closure or something? The last time we spoke..." I hesitate. How we ended isn't something I've ever shared with anyone. It certainly wouldn't paint me in the best light. "Yes, of course that makes sense," Roshi insists. "I'd be in that coffee shop every day until that man gave me answers." "Yeah, right," I intone, choking down a morsel of guilt. "I'm gonna apply." Conflict, to me, might as well be synonymous with death. But this is Declan. I can't help my curiosity now that I know he'll be in that coffee shop a few blocks away from me every day. Plus, the odds of him hiring me are low anyway. After catching up with Roshi, I return to the guest house, charging up the uneven cobblestone, and let myself into the cool air conditioning. Throwing my phone on the bed, I rip my suitcase open in search of running clothes. Adrenaline and ancient teenage-level angst are still pumping through me. My thoughts won't calm on their own, but I can force them to by demanding they focus on the essentials only. Breathing, a beating heart. Obsession and heartbreak won't have room in my body anymore once I start running. I throw the arch door open, lock it behind me, and jog out onto the street, turning right instead of left to hit the forest road instead of the town. The sound of my cushioned shoes hitting the black tar road becomes the metronome for my thoughts to stay on beat. Never, in all my hours spent pondering Declan's whereabouts, did I consider the coffee shop 3 blocks from my childhood home. It felt like spending years trying to break into a laptop, only to find out the password was password. When we lost contact, I continued to believe he went to play football for a D1 college, simply for following the trajectory he was on, being watched by agents who kept their eye on rising stars. Surely, once he healed, he could take his pick of any college team. Maybe I'm oblivious to how much damage the accident caused, but Declan, and his mom, yes, I checked, hadn't left a single social footprint on the internet, much to my dismay. Other than a single photo posted to Declan's Instagram account, which created more questions than answers. Still, I'm shocked to have finally found him, back home, managing a coffee shop. As much as I try to resist it, a memory from 6 years ago forces its way to the forefront of my mind, taking center stage. If the memory's job is to make sure I never finish getting over him, I don't think I ever started. 6 years ago, summer. Just run like 5 yards and then look over your shoulder, and I'll throw you the ball. Declan is trying to coax me into the idea of pretending to be his wide receiver. It's the summer before our junior year, and he's antsy to start practice with his new team. We're facing off in the middle of Seabrook High's empty football field, a rare misting of dew coating the perfectly grass-green turf beneath us. I don't think you're understanding me, I retort. I have never been good at running with my legs and simultaneously using my arms. Declan stares back at me with a disbelieving half smirk, so I forge on. Let alone using my eyes to track the ball at the same time. It's not happening. Okay, fine. I'll tell you a secret. He throws the ball as high as it will go and lets it hit the top of his head on the way down. I flinch when it lands, but he doesn't react in the slightest. It topples to the ground and bounces side to side like a fish out of water before settling. What? How did you... This is a fake football, he supplies, reaching to pick it up off the ground. It's made out of foam. He squishes it, showcasing how easily it molds to his grip. Oh, I blink twice. And why do you, 2-time state champion quarterback, have a fake football? He looks down, flipping the football-disguised piece of foam in his hands. One stray lock of brownish blonde hair flops over his forehead. Because I wanted to practice with you. So... My eyes narrow. You only bought it to play with... Yes, he says with force. With you specifically. So you have to at least try to run a few yards and catch it now that I've confessed that. The admission does something I don't want to name to my chest. Seems fair. Hurry up then. I clap my hands together before breaking into a sprint, mostly so he can't see the blush creeping up on my cheeks at the thought of him going to the store and buying a foam football, just to spend this mundane summer evening playing catch with me. I have no gauge for how far 5 yards is, so I sprint until I hit a white line and then look over my shoulder. To no one's surprise, by the time I turn around, the ball is flying toward me, faster than my eyes can communicate to my arms to respond. Declan laughs when the foam football hits my face. It kisses my nose before bouncing off in a cartoonish arc. It's too squishy to hurt, so I descend into self-pitying chuckles, coming to a stop and letting my arms hang limply at my sides in defeat. Meanwhile, Declan peels over at the waist in a fit of full-on cackles. I stand there, watching him with my lips pressed together in an ironic, self-evident display of pity, overstating how correct my previous objections to this idea were. I'd have the nerve to actually be annoyed if he didn't look so cute laughing. It's like his face can't take the weight of his joy, so it has no choice but to crumple beneath it. Lines bracket his mouth like parentheses, and a specific spot above his cheek is creased down with nowhere to go. After another second, he collects himself, pushing off his knees to stand up straight and walk over to me. His face becomes my entire view, obscuring the damp blades of fake grass and the bright yellow field goal post. I told you, I wouldn't have been able to catch that ball if my life depended on it. Are you okay? He tries to say through leftover laughter, still filtering itself out of his body. Yes, I reply, deadpan. I am fine, but unfortunately for you, I don't think I'll be a good partner with whom to practice your throws, just like I predicted. With whom, huh? He volleys, eyebrows raising in that challenging way that sends a tingle of awareness up my spine. With whom indeed? I nod defiantly. I think I'll just stick to reading my books. 16-year-old, casually overthrowing kingdoms, etc. Right. But can't you do that and continue being my football partner? At my stony look, he adds, Please, eyebrows tenting upward in a pitiful plea. I don't think I'll be much help training you to become a good quarterback if your practice buddy can't catch any balls. Good or bad throw? Won't matter. They'll all land right here. I point to the tip of my nose. In a shocking display of affection, Declan grabs my wrist from my face and says, No, come on. No football buddy would look half as cute as you did when it hit your face. My heart thuds double time as soon as the word cute escapes Declan's wide mouth. We might have known each other since before we could string multiple sentences together. But it didn't change the fact that Declan was turning into a boy who made me wonder what I looked like from his point of view. He was no longer suffering from the awkward stage. He shed his thick, black-framed glasses and developed a throatiness to his voice that made my mind wander while he spoke. Long gone was the 5-year-old boy I met on the strawberry farm who was too mousy to speak. Now, he led football teams. He carried himself with authority and ease. If my thoughts had unnoticeably drifted from normal friend-like thoughts into territory like this, did his too? Did he consider how I had been changing? Cute. It wasn't a fair word in this context. It had too many possible meanings and potential margins for error. Cute, like little sister cute? Pathetic, helpless cute? Or cute, like the type he'd want to kiss cute? My brain manages to contemplate all those thoughts in one held breath. Finally, I exhale, realizing he's still gripping my wrist and awaiting a response. So, of course, I go with a tight, sardonic, "Sure," before breaking into a sprint again. I clap my hands like an overeager penguin while I wait for him to throw the ball. His face softens with a satisfied smile. "Atta girl," he says in a low voice. He launches the ball at me again, and this time I catch it, but my eyes are squeezed shut, so I topple over, falling onto my butt and then rolling over my shoulder, as if the misty turf had a downward tilt. It was perfectly level. Finally, I open my eyes to see Declan's shoes. "First of all," he starts, crouching down to get in my line of sight, "you should be proud of yourself." I croak out a scoff that comes out louder than intended. "And why's that?" "Look down." He gestures at me with a nod. I look down to find the football safely held in my arms, despite the backward shoulder roll I survived. "You protected the ball at all costs, which is pretty much the #1 rule. I think you might be better at this than you think." He says it like a proud coach. Huh. Well, would you look at that? Now help me up, please. I think I've done my job. Declan stretches his hand toward me to grab, so I do. But instead of using it to pull myself up, I tug down with all my strength. "What are you?" He chuckles, allowing me to drag him down to the turf beside me. Emphasis on allow, because I know he could have resisted my weak pull if he wanted to. I, however, am realizing I'm not capable of the same when it comes to him. He faux tumbles, careful to avoid hitting me with his sprawling limbs, and then settles onto the bright green turf next to me, leaning back on his elbows. Declan always looks like he's been lounging somewhere for hours before you've happened upon him, even if he just arrived in the position a second ago. What was number 2? I fish. He breathes through his nose, tilting his head at me. You said first of all, and then never told me what was second of all. Oh, right. He nods and looks up at the sky. Forgive me for forgetting my next point. A little birdie took my kind offer for help and dragged me down with her. A laugh escapes me, chest feeling warm at the easy camaraderie I've always shared with him. He runs a hand through his hair, gaze fixing on the empty bleachers. I wonder if he's imagining them filled. Come on, what was it? I nudge my elbow into his side. Okay, fine. I was going to leave off on my compliment, but if you want to force my hand, you force my hand. I'm staring at his frame, shoulders wider than they were a year before, hair longer, still waiting for his response. He stills and looks back at me. But then his eyes seem to drift to something slightly above my head. I'm confused until he reaches out to smooth down my hair. It must have looked like a bird's nest from all my tumbling. I was going to say, he starts, voice gravelly as his hand slows on its path down my head. I feel his fingers on the crown of my head, all the way down to my toes. You looked like a baby bird getting shoved out of the nest for the first time trying to catch that ball. He delivers the words slowly, tone drier than the desert, so it takes me a moment to process the words. Oh my gosh, I squeak, pushing his hand off my head in exasperation as I realize I've been caught in a bit. And here I was waiting for the next compliment. He laughs with his head down, the perfect display of a delighted boy who has pulled off his joke. I hum. But let's consider if this is the insult you think it is. Birds must be pushed out of the nest at some point to fly. And plus, they can be cute. I clamp my lips shut. I've accidentally referred to myself as cute in the most roundabout way possible. What bird species are we talking here? Duck? I ask in an attempt to clear his memory of it. You, a duck? He muses, looking me up and down like he's considering the thought. Nah, not a duck. Okay, not a duck girl. Noted. How about a flamingo? Oh, definitely not a flamingo. Why not a flamingo? They're sophisticated and pink. Have you seen a flamingo's face up close? He retorts, looking taken aback. I rack my memory. I don't think so. Well, it's definitely not the look you're going for. They're like the lawyers of birds. He shudders, and I cough a shocked laugh. You would be more of a... He runs a hand along his jaw, pretending to be deep in thought. I stare at his outrageously sarcastic expression, eyes looking up like the answer is just beyond his reach. Oh, I got it. He snaps and points at me. A blue-footed booby. That's what you looked like. A what? I sneer. Did you just call me a booby? What is this, 7th grade? No. A blue-footed booby, he says, slower this time, elongating every word. Oh, duh, a blue-footed booby, I repeat, as if it's suddenly obvious. I stare at him with a blank expression. He stares back with a satisfied grin. And what is that? They're these birds that have blue feet who walk funny and do a weird little dance when they're trying to find a mate, he continues, unfazed by my outburst. I arch my brows in suspicion at the word mate. It was mostly just the blue feet and clumsy part that I was referring to, he clarifies, pointing to my feet, which are donned in baby blue high-top Converse. Ah, I see. I'm a blue-footed booby, I conclude, nodding my head in faux understanding. Of course, you would know a bird like that, you nerd. He shrugs with his arms up like, don't shoot the messenger. If Declan hadn't been blessed with football quarterback genes, his mental Rolodex of fun facts would have landlocked him in the nerd category at school immediately. No one gets away with knowing that much information about a niche bird species without looking like that. Funny little dance, though? I'd pay to see that, I continue. You don't have to. Wait here. I'll show you. He pops up and sprints over to our pile of belongings at the beginning of the field, digging for his phone under his crew neck, and then sprints back to me. I watch over his shoulder as he maneuvers to YouTube and types blue-footed booby mating dance into the search bar. He clicks on a National Geographic video and turns his phone horizontally for me to watch as two birds stand awkwardly beside each other, picking up their absurdly aqua-colored feet and putting them back down. They really are bright blue. Declan chuckles and then points at the screen. Watch, if that wasn't enough, they start showing off their wings. And even better, if they really want to win them over, they offer the females a gift, like a little pebble or a stick. I watch as a white-bellied bird tosses the tiniest pebble you've ever seen into the other bird's line of sight. And that's all it takes, I guess, because next thing you know, the female joins in and starts dancing with him. Aw, that is too cute, I coo behind his ear. A text drops down on his screen, interrupting the video. I try not to read it, but the text is in all caps, so it's kind of difficult to avoid. There's a guy's name and the words, Declan, answer your phone. Are we scooping or nah? Underneath it. He quickly swipes it away and says, Oops, sorry about that. No, it's fine. Looks like they really need to reach you. Oh, it's nothing. Some of the new teammates are going to Murphy's drive-thru tonight. You should go, I say, even though it makes my heart dip into my stomach as I do. But only the normal amount of disappointment when you're having fun and don't want it to end, of course. It's not because if we stop hanging out now, I'll have to spend the hours before normal bedtime warding off replays of each scene of our day in painful detail. Overanalyzing each moment and then overanalyzing why I'm overanalyzing our friendship and if it means I'm starting to develop feelings that would ruin it. No, really, it's fine. I don't want to. He insists. Oh, right. I forgot you bought this entire ball for me. I hold up the foam ball, trying to make a joke out of the situation. But the tops of his cheeks turn pink, and I realize what I've said has too much truth. I'll be thinking about that particular shade of pink for days to come. He bought a foam football to play with me alone, and is still here when he could be getting burgers with his teammates. I scramble to my feet and mumble something about needing to get more practice in if I want to stop looking like a blue-footed booby. I try to move past how off-balance the sight of his embarrassment throws me. That night, as I crawled into bed, sore from exerting myself on the empty football field, my phone lit up with a single text from Declan. Good work out there, little bird. I drifted off to sleep with a dumb smile on my face. My dreams were filled with birds with hilariously bright cerulean feet, dancing and offering pebbles to win each other's affection. Chapter 4. My feet trod down the uneven stone-paved sidewalk. The gentle morning sunlight flits in and out of tree branches, illuminating the leaves seemingly from the inside out. Some of the branches have moss that look like the Lorax's fingers draping down lazily. And from certain hills, I'm high enough to see the ocean glittering in the distance. As I near downtown Seabrook, I forget where I'm headed and am momentarily put at ease. I reached for my phone and swiped to the camera to check my under-eye bags. I stayed up late last night by Lottie's bedside, trying to scribble as many stories as she could remember into my journal. Stories of her arriving in America, starting her convenience store without knowing any English, and within a year, throwing parties so large with the local customers and out-of-towners, her house looked like a parking lot. Her words, not mine. I felt like a time traveler, looking at her, knowing she was still here, but wouldn't be for much longer. Knowing that the image of her, 30 pounds underweight, laying on a hospital bed in her bedroom, would mar my mind for countless days after this one. This tired, disfigured version of her felt like some sort of cosmic glitch. The only thing keeping me from turning around was Lottie's insistence that I enjoy my day and the thought of helping my mom. My concealer is doing its job for the most part, and my dark, short hair and curtain bangs are behaving, so I swipe out of the camera app to check the time. 30 minutes until my interview at the coffee shop I somehow managed to schedule. Peppy teenager answered the phone when I called and confirmed the interviewer would be the manager, Declan. I'd come home only a handful of times during college, and not once did I see a glimpse of him. Not even his car. Or his mom, Gwen. Maybe it's because I flinched away from any opportunity to leave the house, insisting that my mom needed company working her shift at the convenience store, but only from the back room. Or that Lottie needed help with her litany of plants around the house. Oh, they're already watered? Perhaps the junk drawer needs a pass-through again. The first year was especially difficult. The wounds of Declan's and my separation were still fresh. Coming home was like walking through a city full of landmines. Street names weren't just street names. They were the titles to bittersweet memories. Late nights spent talking in Declan's car, playing me songs from strange, obscure bands he had recently discovered. Him looking over at me in the dim street lamp's glow, waiting urgently for my face to give away my reaction. I loved that about him. How he loved watching me experience something he'd discovered on his own. After 3 blocks, I turn onto the narrow brick road and hesitate on the landing before the coffee shop's red French doors. There are so many ways this interview could go, and I have not a single clue as to how Declan will choose to acknowledge me. Will he treat me as his best friend of 12 years who became more? Or like a regretted past, pretending we're no more than strangers to each other? Blinking twice and pushing through the doors, I utilize a muscle I've honed well. Compartmentalizing an emotion until it is small and tuckable, and then shoving it into the deepest recesses of my mind. Right now, what I need is for a coffee shop manager to hire me for the summer. That is all. Do it for your mom, I tell myself. The coffee shop has a steady stream of customers placing their weekday orders. Sounds of metal cups being picked up and set down echo from behind the counter. Names are read off lattes at a tiny bar. Peppy teenager seems to be chief of taking orders, her kind voice trilling as she greets customers. She's smiling with the excited glow of a new job's responsibility still intact. My eyes scan the small shop. Its previously house-shaped bones are charmingly obvious. The barista's bar sits at the back of the house, extending to various mid-century seating options, leather chairs, deep couches, and a half-built bar overlooking a window to sit at. There seems to be some construction going on in an alcove to the left, pieces of raw wood resting against the wall. A refraction of light on the floor causes me to look up. Eclectic birdhouses are hanging by nearly invisible strings from the wooden beams on their ceiling. They look handmade, random wheels and gears decorating the outside of each one. It's as if Dr. Seuss and Einstein collaborated on a coffee shop in a wealthy town. Glancing around to the left, I'm startled to find Declan already standing right beside me, as still as a statue. Oh gosh! My body jolts like a boomer being shown one of those videos of a baseball flying straight at the camera. I'm sorry, I clutch my chest and descend into awkward mumbling. I didn't see you there. He stares down at me, face unmoving. Miss Lang? He asks, feigning sincerity. Ms., really? That's how we're going to play this? You can call me by my first name. His expression remains the same. Please, if you'll follow me. I try not to stare as I watch him walk casually to the back corner of the coffee shop. His limp is well hidden within his ability to act like he doesn't carry a singular care in the world. Despite my efforts to treat this as a simple job interview, this is my first time seeing Declan after the accident. Seeing the repercussions of what that night did up close makes my heart constrict, and I contemplate if I can do this. Why did he suffer alone? Why wouldn't he let me in? Please. Declan's eyes flit up to mine. Have a seat. My lips form a thin line as I try to get comfortable in the metal chair. My back is as straight as a ballet dancer's, hands folded in my lap. I try to wear the expression of a trustworthy potential hire. Declan clears his throat. So, tell me a little about yourself. He mimics my clasped hands and sits back in his chair, face blank. I blink twice in rapid succession. Tell me a little about yourself? There is not a single human on planet Earth who knows more about me than this boy. Well, man, now. I did no part of my growing up without him standing by as a witness. Of all the ways I imagined our first conversation going, this one never made the list. Tell me a little bit about yourself? I repeat back to him, voice emphasizing what I think of the question. It's been 2 seconds since the interview began, and I've already forgotten to behave like someone trying to get hired. Perhaps unprocessed grief over this current situation and Lottie's beckons me to act the way I do. Because in a swift moment of poor decision-making, fueled by the disbelief that any of this is really happening, I decide to up the ante on his weird game of pretend. I can act equally as naive and unaware if that's how he'd like to handle this. I compose my face into a well-poised mask. The goal is manic pixie dream girl. The execution is probably more resentfully bitter, immaturely obsessed. Regardless, I start. Well, I was born and raised in Alberta, Canada. My parents have been happily married for 35 years. When it was time for college, I decided traveling the world would suit me a bit better instead. And now my travels have landed me here in Seabrook. I smile with dead eyes, displaying as many teeth as possible. At his silence, I continue. This town is such a well-kept secret, huh? Better keep it up before the men in suits find it. If they saw how beautiful this hidden gem of a place is, they'd be marching in with their blueprints and drills in an instant. My voice pitches up, saccharinely sweet, eyebrows tented in faux sincerity. Declan's face contorts slightly, but he manages to neutralize before anyone around us is able to recognize anything other than an ordinary interview taking place. That years of unspoken tension are being dug up in code. His gaze bores into my soul. He does not move an inch. I study his expression, trying to read if he's perturbed at all, or if he's been so thoroughly over me that this act won't rile up an ounce of emotion. He clears his throat again. What 3 words would your closest friends use to describe you? He keeps his head down, never looking up from the page in front of him. My closest friends? I repeat, as if I need clarification. He nods once, lips pressed tightly together. Are we talking college friends? I made some great friends in college. Or, oh, you mean high school? Or, no, sorry, you meant middle school? I scrunch my brows in faux confusion, picturing Roshi and Faye bowled over in howls of laughter when I tell this story later is the only thing getting me through. Finally, I see his face give away the slightest twitch. I'm annoying him. His mask is slipping. Any friends, it doesn't matter. All right then. If I had to guess, they would probably call me loyal. Loyalty is huge for me. I'm sure it's an overused declaration, but when I love someone, I truly would not let anything stand in the way of us ever again. I would stick by them forever. I punctuate the words and watch them land with the intended impact on his face. Well, as long as it's up to me, of course, I add. Declan remains still. I chalk it up to my imagination, but I swear I see a hint of confusion flicker across his face. After a moment, he seems to remember to speak. He jolts, gesturing with his hand for me to continue. 2 more words, please. Oh, right. Excuse me. I pretend to be deep in thought. Looking up toward the left, maybe they would also deem me straightforward and a concise communicator. If something has happened or feelings have changed, I'd rather come out and say exactly what I mean rather than, well, I don't know. I suppose maybe some people would rather not say anything at all. Declan looks down at this. He knows enough about me to realize what I've said is completely false. I am a conflict avoider, an emotional black hole. Emotions come to me to be smothered by denial and a list of actionable solutions. He gets up suddenly and begins gathering his things. The rustle of papers jars me. Well, I think that will conclude our interview, Ms. Lang. I'll be in contact soon. I'm left halfway standing as I stare at his retreating back. My mouth is partly open in response as I watch him bear his weight onto his right leg and walk away. Chapter 5. 4 years ago, I practically spit in Declan's face that I didn't need him. And now, I'm hoping he hires me at the coffee shop he manages? I mean, are you kidding? He couldn't have written a better gotcha moment himself, I say to Roshi's and Faye's bobbing heads on my phone. Blink, Roshi starts. There is absolutely zero reason to feel embarrassed. If he's the manager, then he probably could have refused giving you an interview in the first place. Yeah, or he took it just to rub it in my face, I retort. Wait, Faye chimes in. Why is he working at a coffee shop? Wasn't he going to be a professional football player? Her question makes my skin feel too tight in an instant. I try to school my face, but there's no use. My imagination has imitated memory so many times, I can't tell the difference anymore. A moment of shock, and then darkness. Waking up in a hospital room. He stopped playing his senior year, couldn't anymore. But I don't know how he ended up back in Seabrook. I thought he'd still be in college in some random state. I reply, voice shaky. Yeah, well, didn't you just shoot yourself in the foot by lying in the interview? Don't you actually need this job? Roshi says. Faye raises her eyebrows like, good point. Guys, he's not gonna hire me. He clearly wants nothing to do with me if that was our first conversation after all this time. I respond. Yeah, that. Or he was just as shocked to see you as you were to see him, Roshi suggests. By that standard, he could assume that you want nothing to do with.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.